Do you have calculators with you? Do you have calculators?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the material or do you have to zoom it? Is it legible?
Yes, ma'am.
So, in the last class, we saw that the necessary conditions are both necessary as well as sufficient conditions for first and second order system, right? Now, for higher order system, whether the necessary conditions are sufficient conditions or not, that we'll have to check. So, for that, let's take one example. Suppose, let's take an example of a third order system whose characteristic equation is given by, please write down the equation. The characteristic equation is given by Qs is equal to SQ plus S square plus 2S plus 8 is equal to 0, right? So this is a third order system. So I guess you will be able to solve it. So solve the equation for the roots and tell me the locations of the roots they explain. Do it now.
minus 2 and 0.5 plus minus 1.93 I.
In control system, rather in electrical engineering,
J
actually
J.
we don't, yes, J. Mathematicians prefer the symbol I, whereas we prefer the symbol J. So these are the roots, right?
Yes, yes.
So these are the roots. Now, what is our observation? Look at the roots. Yes, the real root is in the left half of the S plane. This is our real root, and the real root is lying in the left half of the S plane. But what about the complex conjugate root pair? The complex conjugate root pair are lying in the right half of the S plane, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means the system will be unstable. Now let's again look at the characteristic equation. Let's inspect the characteristic equation. This is a third order system, and you see that A0, A1, A2, and A3. A0 is here 1, A1 is 1, A2 2, and A3 8, right? So all the coefficients are bearing the same sign, none of them are absent, right? And since a0 is greater than 0, and we find that all the coefficients are greater than 0, that means they're positive. So the necessary conditions are being satisfied. But still we find that the system itself is not a stable one, it's an unstable system. That means we can conclude from this that for third and higher order systems, the necessary conditions are not sufficient conditions at all, right? And if we find that all the coefficients are present, all the coefficients are having same signs, right? So if we apply the necessary conditions, then for third and higher order system, we can establish the fact, we can ensure the fact that all the real roots, all the real roots will lie in the left half of the spleen. But we cannot guarantee the negativeness of the real part of the complex conjugate root pair. Am I clear? Do I have to repeat it?
No, ma'am.
So if all the coefficients are present in the, of the characters, all the coefficients of the characteristic equation are present, and if they have the same sign, then the real roots will lie in the left half of this plane, but some of the complex conjugate root pair may lie in the right half of this plane, thus making the system unstable. So how to judge the stability of the system? Yes, there is one way, that is, given the characteristic equation, we can solve the characteristic equation and find the locations of all the roots on the S plane, and therefrom we can conclude about the absolute stability of the system. What is meant by absolute stability? That means if we ask the question, that is, whether the system is stable or not, the answer will be a binary one. Either the system will be stable or the system will be unstable. So the answer to that question will be either yes, is the system stable? The answer would be either yes or no, right? So that is the notion of absolute stability. So, as I said, we can solve the characteristic equation. We can find the locations of the all location of all the roots on the S plane, and therefrom we can conclude about the stability, absolute stability of the system. We can find out whether the system is stable or unstable or marginally stable. But for higher order system, you see, suppose it's a seventh order system or 11th order system, then to solve the characteristic equation is really, really a very tedious job, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
It will be very difficult to solve that characteristic equation. So the first task is given given a system. That means if the characteristic equation of the system is given, or if the closed loop transfer function of the system is given, or if the open loop transfer function of the system is given, from which we can obtain the closed loop transfer function if sufficient information is there. So first we'll look at the characteristic equation and we'll try to find out whether all the coefficients are present or not, and whether all the coefficients are having the same sign or not. That means the necessary conditions are being satisfied. Now for higher order system, third order and higher order system, to judge or to ascertain the absolute stability of that system, we can use two tools independently proposed by A. Harvitz and E. J. Routh. So the tools, stability investigating tools, are accordingly called Harvitz criterion and Routh's criterion. The tools are not identical in nature and they are separately proposed by, as I said, Hurwitz and Routh. But if we know Hurwitz's criterion, then from Hurwitz's criterion we can derive Routh's criterion and vice versa. And most interestingly, both of them propose their own tools, own criterion almost at the same time, at the same point of time. Okay, so A. Harvitz and E. J. Routh independently published the method of investigating the sufficient conditions of stability of a system. The Harvitz criterion, you'll see that Harvitz criterion is in terms of determinants, and the Routh criterion is in terms of array formulation, which is more convenient to handle. So, Routh's criterion is an easier technique which can be employed, which can be used very easily. So that's why first we'll learn Routh's criterion, and after discussing Routh's criterion in detail, we'll come to Harvitz criterion, right? So I'll come to this section after discussing Routh's stability criterion. So Routh's stability criterion. So again, let's assume that a generic nth order system is given whose characteristic equation Qs is equal to a0 s to the power n plus a1 s to the power n minus 1 plus a2 s to the power n minus 2 dot 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 plus a n minus 1 s plus an is equal to 0, right? So to apply Raoult stability criterion, first of all, we'll have to form a table or an array using the coefficients of the characteristic equation. Using the coefficients of the given characteristic equation. That means using these coefficients a0, a1, a2, so on and so forth, right? And that table or that array is known as Raoult's array or Raoult's table. So what is our first task? As I said, first of all, we'll have to check whether all the coefficients are present or not. Then we'll have to check whether all the coefficients are having same sign or not. If these two conditions are not satisfied, then and then we can conclude that the system is not stable, right? But if we find that these two conditions are being satisfied, then for higher order system to judge the absolute stability of the system, we'll have to apply Raoult stability criterion. And for that, we'll have to we'll have to form a table or an array. We use these two terms, table and array, synonymously. And the table or the array is known as Raoult's table or Raoult's array. Now we'll have to learn how to form the table. Okay. Now this is the look of the Raoult's table, complete Raoult's table. Now the first row of the table or the array will be corresponding to the term s to the power n, this s to the power n. So the first row will correspond to the term s to the power n. So we'll write s to the power n like this. Obviously, the next row will correspond to a term s to the power n minus 1. The next row will correspond to a term which is s to the power n minus 2. So we'll write s to the power n, s to the power n minus 1, and draw a line like this. Draw a line like this. And these are the elements of the row corresponding to the term s to the power n. These are the elements of the row corresponding to the term s to the power n minus 1. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you see the elements of the first row. This is the first row. Elements of the first row are some of the coefficients of the characteristic equation. So the first element will be the coefficient of the term s to the power n. The logic is simple. This row corresponds to a term s to the power n. Hence, the first element of this row will be the coefficient of the term s to the power n. What is the coefficient? A0. So we have put A0 over here. Now next we'll pick up the alternate terms. Okay. So the next element of this row will be A2. We'll leave A1, we'll skip A1, and the next coefficient is A2. Then again we'll skip A3, and the next term of this row will be A4. Again we'll skip the next coefficient, that is A5, and the next element of this row will be A6. So what are the elements of this row or of the first row? A0, A2, A4, A6, so on and so forth, right? Now the next row will correspond to a term which is s to the power n minus 1, and just like the previous case, the first element of this row will be the coefficient of this term s to the power n minus 1. And the coefficient as per our convention is A1. So the first term of this row will be A1, Then again we'll pick up the alternate term. So A1, then A3, then A5, so on and so forth. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So from this it's clear that we can just write down the elements of the first two rows of routes array simply by inspecting the characteristic equation, right? So the terms contained in the first two rows of routes array will be simply the coefficients of the characteristic equation. Clear? So suppose this is a fifth order system. So how many coefficients will be there? If n is equal to 5, how many coefficients will be there? Please answer me. Please unmute your device one by one and please answer, please respond.
Ma'am, 6 coefficient.
6 coefficient and what will be the coefficients? A0, A1, then A0, A1, then what will be the last
A2,
coefficient?
A3,
After
A6,
A6, right?
A5.
The last coefficient will be A6. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So look at this particular row. So if it's a fifth order system, then A0, A2, A4, A6. But in the next row, the terms will be A1, A3, A5, and the next term should be A7. But for a fifth order system, there is no coefficient which is A7, right? So A7 is missing. Why? Why? Because it's a fifth order system. Hence, in place of A7, we'll put 0. So for the missing coefficients, we'll put a 0 in the routes table. Am I clear? Similarly, in the first row, you will not get any coefficient which is A8. So after A6, the next term of the first row of routes table will be a 0. Have you understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the third row corresponds to a term which is s to the power n minus 2. And already we have used all the coefficients of the characteristic equation. So if we assume that the terms contained in this particular row are say B1, B2, B3, etc., it's pretty simple that we'll have to compute B1, B2, B3, isn't it? Because already we have used all the coefficients. Okay. So it's clear that from s to the power n minus 2, starting from this particular row, and for all the rest of the rows, we'll have to compute the terms contained in a particular row. Okay. So to compute the terms of this particular row, we'll have to take into considerations the terms contained in the previous two rows. So for computing B1, B2, B3, we'll have to consider the terms contained in this row as well as in this particular row. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so while we'll be computing the terms contained in this particular row, in case of route array, though we don't use the term pivotal elements, but while you have applied or you have studied some numerical methods, I guess you have used the term pivotal element. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. In linear
So,
algebra.
yes, in some numerical methods. So, in this case, this A1, so the first term of the second row, A1 will act as a pivotal element, though this term is not used. For your understanding, I'm using this particular term. So A1 is the key element. A1 is the key element. So how to compute B1? Just follow this arrow. B1 will be equal to A1 into A2 minus A0 into A3 whole divided by A1. Write it down. B1 will be equal to, in the numerator, the terms will be A1 into A2 minus A0 into A3 whole divided by A1. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Similarly, B2, the next term of this particular row, B2 will be A1 into A4 minus A0 into A5 whole divided by again A1. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I assume that A7 is equal to 0, then what will be B3? B3 will be A1 into A6, or let's assume that A7 is not 0. There is one term that is A7 in this particular row. Then B3 will be same pattern. Try to follow the pattern. A1 into A6 minus A0 into A7 divided by A1. So B1 is equal to A1 into A2 minus A0 into A3 whole divided by A1. B2 will be A1 into A4 minus A0 into A5 divided by A1. So in this way, we can compute all the B's. And there is a pattern, right? So if you can follow the pattern, then it will not be very difficult to remember this. So the next row will correspond to a term which is s to the power n minus 3. So for computing the terms of this particular row or elements of this particular row, now we'll have to consider the elements of this row as well as this row. The two rows just above the row for which we are computing the elements. Okay, and now in this case, which one will be the key element? We'll follow the same technique. So if we want to calculate C1, right? So we'll have to consider the terms A's and B's, these A's and B's. So now, which one will be the key element? Which one will play the role of the pivotal element?
B1.
B1.
Right, B1, this one. So C1 will be B1 into A3. Again, just try to follow the arrows. B1 into A3 minus A1 into B2 whole divided by B1. And C2 will be B1 into A5 minus A1 into B3 whole divided by B1. So in this way, we'll calculate all the terms contain all these rows, and if we proceed in this way, finally we'll come to a row which will correspond to a term s square. The next row will correspond to a term s or s to the power 1, and the last row will correspond to a term s to the power 0, right? So these are the elements, and once we compute all this C, D, E, this one is n. When we'll solve the problems, you'll find that this n, the last coefficient, that means coefficient of s to the power 0, will be the second element of this particular row, which corresponds to a term s square. Now in this row, we'll get one single term. Why? Because you see the, okay, we'll find that. I will solve some example, and s to the power 0, simply if you apply the same logic, then s to the power 0 should contain a term which is n. That means n is basically the coefficient of the term s to the power 0. And we'll see, yes, indeed, s to the power 0, this particular row will contain a single term which is an, and we can compute that as well. We'll find that this term is 0, the second term of s to the power 1 row is 0, and so this term will be f1 into an minus e1 into 0 divided by f1. Can you follow this? f1 into an minus e1 into 0 divided by f1. So what will be the value?
AN.
Right. So S0 term will, S0, this particular row will contain a single term which is AN. So to apply Raoult's stability criterion, first of all, we'll have to we'll have to form this, or we'll have to compute this table which is known as Raoult's table or Raoult's array. So since this is a table or an array, so it consists of these rows as well as this columns, right? And please note that this is the first column of this array. This is the first column of this array, and the terms contained in the first column of Raoult's array are A0, A1, B1, C1, D1, dot 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 dot, E1, F1, AN in this particular sequence. This is the first term of the first column, this is the second term of the first column, third term of the first column, and this is the last term of the first column of Raoult's array. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any question? Do you have any query? Any doubt?
No. No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's come to route stability criterion. So, as per route stability criterion, a system will be stable. A system will be stable if all the terms, all the terms in the first column of route array have same sign. That means all the terms appearing in the first column of route array bear the same sign. So this can be phrased in this way as well. That is, if A0 is greater than 0, that means if A0 is positive, then for a system to be stable, all the terms appearing in the first column of route array should be positive. So if all the terms appearing in the first column of route array are not of same sign, then the system will be unstable. And there is a second part. What is that? If all the terms appearing in the first column of route array are not of same sign, then the number of roots of the characteristic equation lying in the right half of this plane will be equal to the number of sign changes in the terms of the first column of route array. Do I have to repeat?
No, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. Now, remember one thing. If the system is unstable, then route stability criterion tells us that how many roots are there in the right half of the S-plane. But from the route stability criterion, we don't get the information about the locations of those roots which are lying in the right half of the S-plane. Only how many roots are there if the system is not stable, then how many roots are there in the right half of the S-plane, that information can be obtained from route stability criterion. So the route stability criterion is stated as below. For a system to be stable, it is necessary and sufficient that each term of first column of route array of its characteristic equation be positive if A0 greater than 0. If this condition is not met, the system is unstable and the number of sign changes of the terms of the first column of route array corresponds to the number of roots of the characteristic equation in the right half of its plane. So this is route stability criterion. So if you are asked to state route stability criterion, then you have to state the complete criterion. I'll come to this part after I discuss Harvard stability criterion. Okay, so let's take this example. So simply a fourth order system. So consider a fourth order system given in this example, having a characteristic equation qs is equal to s to the power 4 plus 8s cube plus 18s square plus 16s plus 5 equal to 0. Will you be able to compute the route stable? try to compute the route stable. I'll help you. So we know that the first row will correspond to a term which is s to the power 4, as we can see over here. And the second row will correspond to a term which is s cube. Do it. So the elements of the first row will be this coefficient a01, then a2 18, and then a4 5. And the elements of the next row, which corresponds to a term s cube, are 8 and 16. And the last term is 0, obviously. So now we'll have to compute the elements of the row which corresponds to the term s square. Will you be able to do that?
Ma'am, 16 or 5?
So this is the formula: 8 into 18 minus 1 into 16 divided by 8. And the next term will be 8 into 5 minus 1 into 0 divided by 8. So the elements are 16 and 5. And you see this is an. For this example, this is an. So yes, s square row contains two terms, and the last term is an. Okay. Now compute the elements of the next two rows. I haven't checked these values.
Yes, ma'am. That will be 13.5 and 0.
13.5 and 0. So S0 will contain a single term which is equal to an, isn't it? This into
Yes,
this
ma'am.
minus 16 into 0 divided by 13.5. So we'll get an over here. So please write down the elements of the first column of route array, and the elements are 1, 8, 16, 13.5 and 5. So A0 is positive and we see that all the elements appearing in the first column of route array are positive. So as per route stability criterion, our conclusion is the system is stable. So if you pose a question like this, is the system stable? The answer will be yes. Remember, route stability criterion provides us with the information about the absolute stability of the system. From route stability criterion, it's really very difficult to find out the relative stability of a system, right? For that, we'll have to use, to ascertain the relative stability of a system, we'll have to use some different tool. Route stability criterion only gives us information about the absolute stability of the system. Please note down this point. Route stability criterion and Hurwitz stability criterion, or in general, often we called Routh-Hurwitz stability criteria, provide us the information about the absolute stability of a system. What is absolute stability? Basically, yes, no criteria. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's take another example. This is also a fourth order system. So the characteristic equation, the given characteristic equation is Qs is equal to 3s to the power 4 plus 10s cube plus 5s square plus 5s plus 2 equal to 0. So complete the Routh table first. So the first row, which corresponds to a term s to the power 4, will contain the terms in this particular sequence 3, 5, and 2, as you can see on your screen. And the next row that corresponds to a term s cube will contain terms which are 10 and 5. Now please look at your screen. We'll complete the table, but first let's discuss one point. You see here s cube, this s cube row is containing terms which are 10 and 5, and yes, these two are the coefficients of the two coefficients of the characteristic equation, right? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Now see that in this, while solving this particular problem, you see we have, or the authors have written down another row that corresponds to s cube, and the elements are 2 and 1. Why? Now for ease of computation, to simplify the computation, we can divide all the terms of a row by a common factor. What they have done, they have divided these elements by 5, and hence they have rewritten s cube row with new elements which are 2 and 1. This can be done, this is optional. This can be done for to simplify our computation. Similarly, if required, you can multiply all the terms of a row by a common factor. Suppose the elements of a row are something like this, 0.5 and 1.5. Then we can multiply these two terms of a row by 2, and we can get the same row having having new coefficients which will be 1 and 3. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So once you go for this kind of conversion, then for further computation, you will have to consider these two terms, 2 and 1. Okay, but this step is optional. So complete the routes table. Have you completed the routes table?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's write down all the elements in proper sequence. All the elements appearing in the first column of the route array. So what are the elements? The elements are 3, 10, rather, in this case it will be 3, 2, 3.5, then minus 0.5 divided by 3.5, and the last term of the first column will be 2. Clear?
Hello, ma'am. I have a question.
Yes. Hmm.
Ma'am, in the case of S3, which is optional, you have said,
Hmm.
if I do not do this step, then the value of corresponding S1
Well,
term
yeah,
will come in different.
yes, 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 yes.
So
That's not a
it's not
problem.
okay, ma'am.
So if you don't go for this step, then this value will be something different.
Ma'am, the value corresponding S1 term will be different. Minus 0.714 is coming.
Yes, this one will also be different. 10 into 5 minus 3 into 5 may be
Uh,
different.
but in this
Divided
case,
by
the
10.
value is same. 3.5 and
Oh,
2.
okay. Maybe different. In this case, the value is same, but maybe different. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So have you noted down the all the elements in proper sequence appearing in the first column of the route array?
Yes, ma'am.
So here I'm considering the first element of this particular row to be 2. So the terms are 3, then 2, then 3.5, then minus 0.5 by 3.5 and 2. So you see here A0 is positive, which is plus 3, but this term appearing in the first column of route array is negative. So as per route stability criterion, our conclusion about the stability of the system will be the fact that the system is unstable, right? Now, we'll have to address the second part as well. So, how many roots are there? How many roots of the characteristic equation, or how many closed loop poles of the system are lying in the right half of the S-plane? That will be equal to the number of sign changes of the terms appearing in the first column of route array. So here you see positive, 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 then negative. One sign change from 3.5 plus 3.5 to minus 0.5 divided by 3.5. So first sign change, try to follow the cursor, first sign change, and then again from negative to positive. So second sign change, right? So how many sign changes are there? Number of sign changes equal to 2. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So how many roots are there in the right half of the S plane?
2.
Two roots are there lying in the right half of the S plane. Okay. Now apply route stability criterion for this particular system having this characteristic equation. Already you have solved for the roots, okay, and you have found the locations of the roots on the S plane. Now apply route stability criterion to find out whether route stability criterion can be validated for this system or not.
Yes, ma'am, it is valid.
How many sign changes?
2 sign changes.
Two sign changes. So two sign changes, and since we have solved for the roots, so we can find that yes, two complex conjugate root pair are lying in the right half of the S plane, right? So we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
validated route stability criterion for this system. Now, while applying route stability criterion, often we face some difficulties or some problems. Often it's not possible to complete or to compute the complete route stable, right? So then what to do, how to handle, how to tackle that particular situation. So if we find that due to some reasons or other we cannot compute the complete route stable, that means we are coming across some special cases. Can you see some special cases? Occasionally, in applying the route stability criterion, certain difficulties arise, causing the breakdown of routes test. So it's obvious that if we can't complete the or if we can't compute the complete route array or route stable, then it will not be possible for us to apply route stability criterion. So, in other words, we can say that state test cannot be applied. So, we'll have to find some means by which these difficulties, these problems can be tackled, can be alleviated. Now, generally, we face two types of difficulty, and please try to remember that the nature of these difficulties are completely different, and hence, the means with the help of which we'll try to handle these difficulties will be completely different. So, we'll apply different techniques for solving these two difficulties. And again, I'm repeating that the nature of the difficulties are completely different. Okay. Now, first we'll discuss difficulty number one. Often we call this kind of difficulty as difficulty number one. So, what is the nature of the difficulty? I'll come to that. Let's first let's try to apply route stability criterion for this particular system, whose characteristic equation QS is given by s to the power 5 plus s to the power 4 plus 2s cube plus 2s square plus 3s plus 5 equal to 0. So try to form the route stable or routes array. Please solve this problem.
So in the third row, the first element will be 0.
The first element is 0. For the time being, just ignore this symbol epsilon. Here we are getting a 0, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the first element is 0. So what will be the problem?
জিরো হয়ে গেলে সামনের গুলো আর কিছু হবে না, এক্স টু দি পাওয়ার স্কোয়ার ইনফিনিটি
Next term, since this is 0, hence will not be able to compute the rest of the terms of this particular array, isn't it? Because we'll have to divide, to compute this term, we'll have to divide by this term, the term appearing in the first column of this row, right? Which is 0 in this case. So that is the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the nature of the problem? Look at this particular row. Look at this particular row. The first term is 0. Yes, the first term is 0, but the second term is -2. Have you computed this term?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is -2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means this particular row does contain a 0 as its first element, but at the same time, the row does contain some other non-zero terms. Am I clear? The first term is 0, but the second term is non-zero, and the second term of this particular row is -2. So this is the uniqueness of this particular problem, of this particular difficulty. So what is the nature of the difficulty? When the first term in any row of the route array is 0, while the rest of the row has at least one non-zero term. Have you understood the nature of the difficulty? Yes, the first term of a row is 0, but that particular row contains some other non-zero term. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So already we have discussed that because of this 0 term, the terms in the next row becomes infinite and Route's test breaks down. So what can be done? Now, to tackle this problem, what we'll do, since A0 is positive, hence we'll in place of 0, we'll substitute a very small positive number denoted by epsilon. So just pen through that 0 and put epsilon beside that. So what we are doing, we are just substituting a very small positive number, very small positive number, epsilon, in place of 0. Right? So since epsilon is not 0 and we have assumed this to be positive, right? So now we can start again computing the rest of the terms of the routes table, and yes, some of the terms will be function of epsilon. So in terms of epsilon, or putting epsilon over here, please now complete the routes table. You don't have to look at this part, just compute the terms, then I'll explain. Have you computed all the elements of the Routh table? Have you computed all the elements of this Routh
Yes, ma'am.
table? Hmm? Got this expression?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So we have computed the Routh table and we have seen, as we have expected, that some of the terms are, yes, function of epsilon. Now you see, we are not really interested about the magnitude of about the value of the elements appearing in the first column of the Routh array. Yes, we'll have to compute the terms correctly, otherwise the rest of the terms may be incorrect. But actually we are interested, while applying Routh's, finally while applying Routh's stability criterion, we are actually interested about the signs of the terms appearing in the first column of the Routh array. Okay, so here let's try to judge the signs of the terms appearing in the first column of the Routh array. Here one is positive, the next one is positive. Epsilon we have chosen to be positive. Though it's very, very small, but we have chosen epsilon to be positive, right? Now, next come to this term, which is 2 epsilon plus 2 divided by epsilon, right? Now, since epsilon is very, very small, then this 2 epsilon, this term can be neglected with respect to this term 2. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So this term will be 0 in the limiting case. In the limiting case, when epsilon will tend towards 0, then this term will be 0, right? So what will be the sign of this term? The first term of this particular row, and this term which is appearing in the first column of Routh array, it will be plus 2 divided by some positive number. So the sign will be positive. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's come to the next term appearing in the first column of Routh array. Again, applying same logic, we can say that this 4 epsilon can be neglected. This 4 epsilon is negligible, as if epsilon is very, very small. Similarly, this term 5 epsilon square, 5 epsilon square, this will also be negligible, right? So this term will tend to 0, this term will tend to 0. In the denominator again, this 2 epsilon can be neglected with respect to this term 2, right? So in the numerator, we are left with a term which is minus 4, and in the denominator, we are left with a term which is plus 2. So what will be the, in the limiting condition, what will be the sign of this term? Minus 4 divided by plus 2. So in the limiting condition, it will tend to minus 2 and the sign is negative. And obviously, this one is positive. So what we are getting in the first column, positive, 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 negative, then positive. So that means, that implies that the system is not stable, right? And how many roots are there in the right half of the plane? Positive to negative, one sign change, then again negative to positive, the second sign change. So number of sign changes equal to 2. That means 2 roots of the characteristic equation will lie in the right half of the S plane. Have you understood this method?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Again, I'm repeating, that is, this one is difficulty number one. And what is the nature of the difficulty? The first term of a row is 0. The first term of a row is 0, but that particular row contains some non-zero terms. So if that be the case, that means we are facing the first kind of difficulty. And how to solve the problem? We'll have to replace that 0, first column 0, by a very, very small positive number, which is epsilon. And then with the that particular value with epsilon, we can compute the rest of the terms of the Routh table. And then in the limiting condition, where when epsilon tends towards 0, we'll try to find out, considering epsilon to be positive, okay, we'll try to find out the signs of the terms appearing in the first column of Routh array, okay, and therefrom will conclude about the stability of the given system. So the second kind of difficulty we'll discuss in the next class. Do you have any question? Any doubt? Any question?
No, ma'am.
Don't leave the meeting.